This week on One Day Leader, our contestants tackle the topic of rape. How do we create a rape-free South Africa? Sanibonani Mzansi, sanamukela kwi-One Day Leader, your #1 youth leadership show. Igama nginguPearl Wagwashongwe. South Africa is known as the rape capital of the world. Over 100 cases of rape are reported every day in police stations all over the country, yet only 8% of those accused are ever convicted. This is a violent crime which threatens the very fabric of our society and the safety of mostly women and children. Tonight we ask our leaders, how do we create a rape-free South Africa? You at home can join the conversation by visiting our Facebook page, One Day Leader SA, to share your comments on the topic. Also visit our Twitter page at One Day Leader. Our Instagram page is One Day Leader, and use that all-important hashtag #OneDayLeader7. Leaders, I hope you are ready to tackle this week's topic. With that said, good evening, Leader 1. Your vision statement, please.
I am Leader 1, the one in a million that believes that we can create an inclusive society for the marginalized and people with disabilities. I am a son of the soil, an African for the Africans.
Thank you very much. Hello to you, Leader 2. Your vision statement, please.
I had a conversation with Mother Africa the other day, and we spoke of our rich history and the bliss of a united Africa, which led to my vision of social justice through education. South Africa, I have received the signal, and I am here and will forever be inspired by the courage of Mamwini Nomzamo Matikizela Mandela. This, I promise, call me daughter of the soil.
Thank you very much. A very good evening to you, Leader 3. Your vision statement, please.
I speak on behalf of the student that has to choose between completing their studies and getting a job, when I say that poverty doesn't look good on anyone. And for the grandmother that has to choose between settling their bills as well as getting proper medical health care, I say that no human rights, no two human rights are mutually exclusive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader 3. Leader 4, it's your turn. Good evening. Your vision statement, please.
In a country with high unemployment rates, fellow South Africans, let's make entrepreneurship a norm. The solutions to the country's problems do not lie on the hands of politicians. They lie in the hands of entrepreneurs. So we are all CEOs. Hashtag I believe, Kia Dumela. Forward we go.
Thank you, Leader 4. Leader 5, good evening. Your vision statement, please.
I am not a martyr, but I am an activist and a black radical feminist. And I believe in the fire of black love, the sweat of truth, and free decolonized education. I am not here to imagine a world that ought to be, but I am here to create a world that should and will be by any means necessary. Umamunomza Mosege Susile, and I am Agent Mufirifiri at your service.
Thank you very much, Leader 5. Leader 6, good evening. It's your turn. Your vision statement, please.
I believe in the 4th industrial revolution, a world where we are not afraid to compete with artificial intelligence, because in this world, we invent it, we speak to it, we solve problems with it, because technology should never ever be a barrier to entry, but it should only be a bridge to progression. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been sent to tell you that the robots are coming, and they're coming very fast.
Thank you very much, Leader 6. So, Mzansi, there you have it. These are your 6 leaders. Now, last week, you at home voted for your favorite leader. Let's take a look at our scoreboard to see who scored the highest votes. This week's viewer votes sees Leader 6, Webster, leading with 809 votes, and Busi trailing behind with 118 votes. This means that Leader 6, Webster, gets 1 point. Congratulations. Now let's take a look at our series scoreboard. Leading the pack is Anisa and Hoto with 3 points each. Trailing behind is Peaceful with 0 points. Let's take a look at how you can keep your favorite leader in the running. To vote for your favorite leader, SMS his or her number to 32792. If you want to vote for Peaceful, SMS Leader 1. For Anisa, SMS Leader 2. For Hoto, SMS Leader 3. Hosi, Leader 4. Busi, Leader 5. And for Webster, SMS Leader 6. Thank you very much, Mzansi, for your ongoing participation. Remember, your votes at home do indeed count. Now, over to our guest judge. He is the founder and president of Not In My Name SA, a movement that encourages men to be activists against gender-based violence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Siyabulela Jendile. Now, on the back of the Women's March Against Gender-Based Violence, which was held in August last year, Amandla.Mobi recently created an online petition asking the Minister of Women, Bathabile Dlamini, for a national plan to end gender-based violence. All right, Sia, what have been your findings regarding the prevalence of rape or rape culture in our society?
No, thank you very much, Pearl. As you've rightfully said, that we are amongst the highest, in fact, we are the rape capital of the world. And I always say to people that rape is the most ruthless and dehumanizing form of violence that can be meted against anyone. And we have seen over the years that we've got a culture of impunity that is so much entrenched in our justice system, whereby we've seen the rich and powerful and prominent men getting away with it. But we are still working hard on the ground with many people, and I'm really excited to see what are some of the solutions that the leaders will be coming out with today.
Thank you. And what are some of the gaps, before I let you go, that you've observed within our government policies regarding this rape culture, or the scourge of rape?
Yes, as I've said, the culture of impunity. In South Africa, it's more like, as a woman who have been raped, it's your duty to prove that you have been raped, more than the perpetrator himself proving that he did not do it. So the responsibility always lies with the victim. That they have to convince the people to believe them. So those are the gaps that we've come to realize as we are working on the sketch. But just to say again, that in the justice system itself, there are many loopholes. There are many policies that we feel that they need to be re-amended, and actually have the government, together with the civil society and every single South African, just to sit down and have another conversation and change some of the policies that have been made.
Thank you very much, Sia, for your insights. Well, we also have our resident judges who've been helping us decide on the debates for the past few weeks. Gugulethu Gugs Mhlungu has over 10 years' experience in media. Currently, she's a deputy editor for leading South African publication and was the winner of the 2015 Columnist of the Year at the Legends Media Awards, as well as Ndumiso Hadebe, who is a One Day Leader alumni who won season 2 of this very show. He's an economist by profession and an entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause. Googs, let me come to you. I know that you are someone who is quite vocal and has spoken extensively on the scourge of rape and rape culture in our society. What are your thoughts on today's topic, and how do you think our leaders should be tackling these debates? Because rape is a sensitive issue.
I think if we're going to discuss rape, we need to discuss the continuum or the whole spectrum of violence in this country. And as Sia was saying, the kind of normalized, entrenched ideas of what is acceptable. So expecting that you may be assaulted for wearing a particular skirt or pair of pants, expecting that women aren't in the streets in the evening, all of these kinds of things contribute to the culture of violence, which contributes to the culture of rape. So I'm hoping to see the leaders connecting the dots with, some of the things that we consider to be normal or normative, and this crisis, and it is a real crisis, of sexual violence that South Africa has.
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you very much for that, Googs. Well, rape is a crime committed through a sexual act without the consent or agreement between the people involved. It is traumatic, humiliating, and can indeed have life-changing consequences. Sadly, 8 out of 10 rape cases are committed by someone or some people who are known by the rape survivor or victim, and not always a stranger lurking in the dark. So how do we do rape education that teaches our young people to respect the boundaries when it comes to rape, even in relationships? It all comes down to understanding consent. Let us see how our leaders here in studio address this question in their task week.
So we're being told to pack our stuff and just get into the car and go somewhere. We don't know where we're going. Normally we receive tasks at home, so yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see.
For someone who thinks they know Joburg, I could see that we were going Kako Soweto, but I knew we weren't going to Soweto. Kanti chigi chigi. We end up in El Dorado Park, and I was like, okay, this is interesting.
Good morning, leaders. My name is Darylene James, and I'm from the Yellow Ribbon Foundation. I've received a message from Pearl to give you your task for this episode. As you know, South Africa has a high rate of rape.
When we got the task from Darylene, I think I personally had a really serious understanding of the task, and I knew that we needed to pull ourselves towards ourselves.
About 110 cases are reported each day, and El Dorado Park is affected by this scourge.
When she mentioned the statistics, that's when it got to me, because you look at the place itself, it's quite tough.
Help us find a solution to a rape-free society by using Aldo's as your case study. Hosi, you are the task leader. You may leave.
Rape is a very, very sensitive issue to all South Africans.
After the break, we'll find out if our contestants were able to come up with tangible solutions that could help us address this rape crisis in our country. Don't go anywhere. One day leader Konalagu SABC Wada Mzansi for sure. Igama Ngingupil Wagwashongwe. Our leaders visited the community of El Dorado Park to meet with learners from El Domain High School. They also visited Sacred Heart College to find out what the learners over there understand rape to be. Now the goal here was to gather ideas that could help in creating a rape-free society in South Africa. Let's take a look at how it went.
So upon receiving the task and getting shocked that I'm the task leader, we then had to, identify a school in El Dorado Park that we would go to. And the first school that came to mind for me was El Dorado, Maine, because I thought it would be an interesting school to go to because it's got, different demographic and it's cross-cultural.
We had to bear in mind that when you walk into a classroom, because we were given a classroom, when you walk into a classroom, you must be very aware of the fact that you might be speaking to victims.
Hello everyone, so my name is Busisiwe Catherine Siabe.
What we specifically wanted to do was to first get their participation, to first get them to open up to us, because you can't just pitch up there as leaders and just start talking about rape, because it's not going to happen. We need to get them to get cozy with us. We need them to trust us.
Essentially, we're hoping that we can make this a very interactive session where we'll get to learn from you guys and you guys can learn from us as well.
After the icebreaker,
Just one more time. Just one more time. No man, Webster, they're not giving me that thing. I initially wanted, and I got Peaceful to speak.
You were taught math, so which means some things can be taught from one person to another.
Peaceful is a brilliant speaker and he really connects with people. I don't know how he does it, but it comes across as effortless.
Our objective was to engage and make a silent protest with the elder kids and then get their perspective about rape and share with them what we believe rape is.
Rape is one of those hard issues of South Africa. We struggle to face it because it's too much for us. Those who go through it, they struggle to survive it.
Hosi didn't speak into the topic. He just asked the kids, what would you say to the perpetrator? But what he said he was going to do is that he was going to identify the perpetrator to the kids and speak about who the perpetrator is.
So I'm going to talk to you guys about what a relationship is not supposed to be.
Hoto gave her view on relationships. I personally didn't agree with most of what she said, but it was her view. She was not giving views and points.
Rape doesn't always happen in the way that we suggest it's always supposed to be. It's not always violent. What we always speak about as the six of us is that rape is not always violent. Your boyfriend that you trust with your life can sometimes rape you. Do you guys know that?
We also wanted to do something that gives us a voice, but without saying anything.
So we decided to teach the kids martial arts at the school because we thought that it's important for them to have an element of self-defense.
So I'm going to go through a lot of basic things today.
The martial arts was good. I loved it myself. Although from where I'm coming from, I don't believe in trying to fight. I'm not an experienced fighter myself. So in a case like that, I prefer running.
At no point in time do we think that we were actively encouraging things like antagonism.
This is important here. I get a guard across. If you attend our classes, we'll teach you that variation. But here, all I want you to do is grab that arm here. And you see, I'm already getting ready here to shoot this arm up because I'm going to turn around here and attack. Okay.
Going to Sacred Heart was to engage the kids. We get to have a conversation with them. But if you can compare the background of people from Sacred Heart and from Eldos, it's two different people. So you can come from a person who's in a point of comfort and one who's in a point of discomfort.
I don't know what it was, but they just seemed very isolated, and it took a lot of probing to get them to say, you know, basic things. And the engagement was not sharp, man. Sacred Heart was bougie, bad and bougie. So.
All right, so we've just seen our leaders in action on their task this week. I quickly want to come to you, Ndumi. So looking at how our leaders performed on this task, are there any questions that you'd like to throw at them? Any comments that you'd like to hear from them before we head into our debates?
Sure, thanks, Pearl. Busi, as the task leader, you mentioned quite an important thing around having a cross-sectional sort of sample of the investigation that you guys were doing. But what was some of the feedback or their thoughts around the culture of rape in South Africa and their thinking around how it affects us and solutions for it?
So once we were able to get them comfortable with us, they were able to open up to us and to discuss, you know, some people even gave us analogies from their own personal lives around the issue of rape. And a lot of the times they were looking at things such as legislation within, you know, government, looking at what hospitals and how hospitals treat victims of rape, and also looking particularly at how police officers themselves engage with victims as well. So it was more based on, you know, the response to the victim and what the victim should do more than anything else, which is, you know, very it's necessary, you know, information and a contribution. So yeah, it was a very valid and valuable experience, although they were particularly very reserved. Yes.
All right, thank you very much to you, Leader 5, and to you, Ndumi. So we'll be chatting to our judges, of course, as we usually do, as soon as our debates get underway. Coming up next, our judges will evaluate the tasks undertaken by our leaders. They'll chat about it amongst themselves during this ad break. But when we come back, we'll also get our first debates underway. Welcome back to One Day Leader Season 7. It is the season of the torchbearers right here on SABC 1, where rape is a concern for many South African women and children. And it should be really a concern for all of us as a nation. We've seen parliamentary debates, campaigns and marches against rape, but this has not made a significant difference with regards to our statistics. The question is, what needs to be done to create a rape-free society? Before we start with our first debate, let's find out from our judges what their thoughts are on how our leaders performed on their task. And for this one, I'll come to you, Googs. You saw the insert. Do you think that our judges did enough to engage the people that they were talking to in both these two very different communities, Eldorado Park and Sacred Heart College?
I think I would have been very interested to find out why the second group, the Sacred Heart group, was reserved. Because I also think, certainly with something like sexual violence, there's a great deal of shame that's associated with it. Victims and survivors of sexual violence are encouraged to be ashamed. And as a society, we treat it as a hush-hush thing. We know so-and-so is doing something they shouldn't be doing, and there's this kind of conspiracy of silence. And I would have been very interested in that question as well. But also, I think, more kind of unpacking about, so what happens when you're dealing with, one of the things that you said as you walked into the elders class was that there may be survivors there. People who may, for this particular topic, is very close to home. It is a real lived experience. And, there's a question about, so how do we go about dealing with that? How do we support survivors? Because that's one of our other big challenges, is secondary trauma, a failure to support, assist survivors in the way that they should. And I would have liked to have seen that as well, kind of that question. It's an ongoing question about, so how do we do it? Because I think that's also part of how we begin to imagine and have a rape-free society.
All right, thank you very much, Googs, and I hope our leaders are listening carefully to what you're saying and will consider that as they go into their debates. So those were our judges' reviews in terms of how our contestants performed on their task. It is time for us to get into our first debate, but before we do so, let's take a look at the rules of engagement.
These are the rules for the One Day Leader debate. You have 30 seconds to state your vision statement. 60 seconds for the opponent to challenge, and 30 seconds to conclude your debate.
All right, before we get into our very first debate, which is between Busisiwe and Webster, Leader 5 and Leader 6, respectively. Leaders, I just want to say our judges will not be selecting who will be for or who will be against. This is much more about you guys presenting solutions to the greater community of our country. Busisiwe, your 30 seconds start now.
Rape is an instrument of genocide and must be regarded as one of the most offensive and violent crimes a human can commit. Right? There are three things that we need to do fundamentally from the beginning when dealing with rape. We need to go into ECD centers, early childhood development centers, and teach children and adults going all the way up about consent. Consent is very important when we get into a conversation around rape. The second thing that we need to do is, like Sierra Leone, we need to declare a state of emergency around rape, as they recently did a couple of days ago.
Your 30 seconds are up. You leaders have 60 seconds to engage.
So, Busi, I don't think that you actively get anything from ECD centers, because entrenching or indoctrinating in small children to view something does not have tangible change as to changing it from the top down, which is changing the perspectives of adults who are able to then progress it to a younger generation. We think that that form of education is something that's more valid.
Thank you very much, Webster. There's two reasons why it's important for us to start at early childhood development. It's because of the fact that when we teach children from a young age about consent, then it becomes less likely that they are going to be perpetrators in the end. And secondly, when dealing with the top-down approach, I have a simple solution to that. We need to start adopting structures such as the ones in China, Iran, Egypt, and Netherlands. Now, in China, the law punishes rapists straight away with the death sentence. In Iran and Egypt, a rapist is either hanged or shot to death in public. Sometimes the guilty escape.
What she's doing is she's actively telling men that they're not doing anything. It's a reactionary approach.
Time is up. Thank you very much. Hosi, where you have the remaining 30 seconds.
Now, what Webster will try and convince you of in his debate is that I am trying to convince men that this is a reactionary process, that they are not essentially in full control of their own emotions. But we must also understand that the fabric of society, to a large extent, is governed and informed by our religion. The Bible and the Quran does not say anything about rape. In fact, in certain instances like Deuteronomy, in Numbers, and in the Quran verse 4 and 15, it advocates for rape. So in such a society, we need to be able...
Time is up. Thank you very much. The tables are turned. Webster, your 30 seconds start now.
Panel, understand that the only way that we can reach the tangible outcomes that she wants to achieve is by telling men that you're a problem. You have the potential to rape. Telling men and educating them that, look, you pose a threat to women. That in this instances, ladies and gentlemen, we change things like power dynamic and sexual oppression, because men are informed by these specific things that she's talking about, but she's not reaching any form of tangible change. In my model, the state of rehabilitation needs to be reformed, because it needs to be tailored to specific rape instances, because everyone is being reformed and rehabilitated.
Thank you very much. You guys have 60 seconds to engage.
Now, Webster, with regards to the state of rehabilitation that you're so advocating for, when people are rehabilitated within our prison system, our incarceration system, they come out after 4 or 5 years on good behavior, claiming to be Christians, but still being perpetrators and being able to stand and to defend people who continue to rape in their communities. Tell me how rehabilitation, which is something that is attempting to happen at the moment,
because what I'm saying is that rehabilitation needs to be tailored to that specific instance.
I need, give me specificities, right? I want you to be specific. What do you mean?
Rehabilitation.
Give me an
Give me a
example,
moment.
Webster.
It does not encourage a rape-free society when you go into early childhood development centers and tell children that don't yet know that they do have that privilege, because they're only exposed to a specific privilege at a point where they see their parents
it is
speaking
important,
to their
Webster,
mothers
for us
in
to
a
tell
specific
children
way.
that they should be able to mention and to comment about their own
exacerbating
private parts.
specific
They should be
cultural
able
norms,
to know
Hosi,
that they're
you're
not allowed to
doing
touch
anything.
each other
The
in ways that are not
counterfactual
productive.
here is something like the Gulabi gang in India, where people actively women
Time is
go
up.
out.
Thank you very much. Webster, you have the remaining 30 seconds to close your argument.
In my conclusion, panel, understand that what I'm telling you is that women go out and take a chance, like the Gulabi gang in India, where women go out and beat men up. It does not teach men. It further entrenches that patriarchy that women can never be more powerful than us. What I'm doing here, ladies and gentlemen, is an act of education where you sit men down and you tell them of their privilege. Because the reason why men rape is because they don't know that that privilege is one that supersedes the biological indifferences that they have with females. Ladies and gentlemen, I've never been more proud to propose.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Yeah, I can see the judges are busy, having a conversation, writing down their scores. And Dumiso, let me come to you. That was a heated first debate full of facts that you guys have previously asked for, statistics, Nyana, thrown in there. Your thoughts on that first debate?
Look, I should certainly say that I'm quite impressed by the level of in-depth research that you guys both present in your arguments, the case studies that you presented forward. I think it also created a sort of a dichotomy around some of the cultural and differences from the different case studies that you mentioned, and in South Africa as well. There are a number of solutions that you also presented as well, which are not necessarily mutually exclusive, but they were quite dynamic in the manner in which you presented them. So I think from a debating perspective, I'm actually impressed. And so I think when we therefore, may we? Okay. The winner in this debate goes to Busi.
All right, thank you very much. Well done, Leader 5, for taking this first debate. Now, for you at home, the voting lines are now officially open and will be closed on Monday noon at 12 midday. Vote for your favorite leader. Ngok SMS egameliti leader nenamba yabo to our SMS line, which is 32792 at a cost of R1.50. Nikumbule, your votes will be revealed at the top of next week's episode. I guess, hey, Dolo, when we return, we get into our second round of debates. Mpindeng namukele ku One Day Leader, the show that grooms potential leaders of tomorrow. Today we are discussing the scourge of rape in our society. In 2007, Parliament passed the Criminal Law Amendment Act, which recognizes that women and children are particularly vulnerable when it comes to sexual violence. Now, before this law was passed, survivors of sexual violence were confronted with many challenges and difficulties with law enforcement, which resulted in fewer women reporting cases at their local police station. In tonight's debate topic, we ask, what is the answer to creating a rape-free South Africa? It's time for our next debate to get underway, and will be between Leader 1, Peaceful, and you, Leader 3, Hoto. You guys know the rules of engagement by now. So, Peaceful, you have the first 30 seconds.
There are 3 million people living with disabilities in South Africa, and 1.8 million of those people is women and children living in township communities. These people live in a country which has 1,138 police stations, and none of them employ sign language interpreters or make use of braille services. By virtue of these barriers of communication, rape cases of women and children with disabilities are easily dismissed or ignored simply because they're not determined as fit to stand trial. So I believe with you, Sia, if we can change the justice system and make public facilities to be more accessible for people with disabilities, these people can be heard, and we can create
Time is up. Thank you very much. You leaders have 60 seconds to engage on the topic.
Peaceful, I would like you to continue explaining exactly how your plan suggests that you'll be able to assist the people that you're speaking about with disabilities. How capable is it to do that?
By virtue of my demonstration, I've demonstrated sign language to prove that she doesn't understand me. Those are the barriers that I'm talking about.
I am not arguing with the fact that we don't understand the people. I am saying that how do you best see that you'll be able to do that? What's the plan?
This is my answer. Let's make it more accessible. If you can't understand sign language,
plan. Who do you work with? Where do you go? Who do you work with? Where do you go to be able to make me understand
employ
that?
Sign language interpreters, employ people to read braille in public facilities, in hospitals, in clinics, and in police stations. Because it's not that these people are not being raped, they just don't know how, they're just not heard because people don't understand them when they speak.
I thought you'd prove to me the fact that there is a high rate of these disabled people who are not reporting
7 out of 10 women, it happens to be women with disabilities because they're in a point of vulnerability.
But I want you to make me understand how best you see that your plan.
Thank you very much, leaders. Peaceful, you have the remaining 30 seconds.
The 2% Employment Equity Act quota has failed people with disabilities, and that coupled with 27% of unemployment has promoted a society of vulnerability for women and children living in township communities. So I'm proposing 2 solutions to this matter. Number 1, increase economic inclusion for these people so that whenever they go to public facilities, they can be well understood and well represented. Number 2, break barriers of communication. Get them jobs, because we're only asking for 2%, that is 100,000 of the population of 2 million people.
Thank you very much, Peaceful. That's where we'll leave it. Hoto, it is your turn. We're interested in hearing what your solutions are that you're going to present. Your 30 seconds start now.
Now, our constitution is very advanced as it incorporates one of the most progressive sex offence acts, which includes the marital rape and consensual sex. But what is it that this constitution is met with in the ground that obstructs justice? We see cultural norms and behaviors, the failing justice system, as well as the media constantly perpetuating rape culture. And that we also see that the way we always judge and analyze rape is according to male perspective on how they view female behaviors. How do we solve this? We need to put structures in place to be able to support the victims.
Thank you very much. Leaders, you have 60 seconds to engage.
First of all, I'd like to correct you. We live in imagined communities. Culture is imagined. Religion is imagined. If we can imagine a community, we can create a society where ideas of these people...
But I'd like you to counter my argument by telling me that our culture and our norms are not the reason why we are here. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I put it to the House that in 2005 and 2006, when our former President Zuma was being interrogated, he even perpetuated patriarchy, and he said that he was questioning why the lady was actually wearing what she was wearing. And that is me proving to you in practice that our culture and our norms are the reason why we are faced with this. And that is why I'm saying we need to change this. We need to educate our children and teach them about consent. When the boy child
But how does that do with the Constitution? Because the Constitution is going to take time to implement the process.
The Constitution is ever evolving, ladies and gentlemen. When the Constitution recognized that people are not being heard, the Constitution went on to prove that rape is not always penetration by the penis, but rape is also penetration by the finger. Rape is not always. So I prove to you that the Constitution is...
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Leader 3, you have the remaining 30 seconds to close off your argument.
Now, the reality here is that 1 in 3 women stand to be raped in their lifetime. Now, let us transform the response that rape culture receives from South Africa by being cognizant of the fact that newborn babies are being raped, by being cognizant of the fact that grandmothers are being raped. So I proved to you in my debate that it has a lot to do with culture, how we shame the victim, how we magnify the perpetrator by saying that how can we best prove that you have been raped. And so we want to shame the perpetrator and we want to put a light on...
Thank you very much, Leader 3. Your time is up. Our judges are busy deliberating, but let me quickly come to Googs for her comments on this debate. I know you probably have a mouthful to say.
I do think it was quite nice to hear an element of looking at who are the most vulnerable in society, which I think Peaceful touched on, because the nature of something like violence or any socioeconomic issue is it will cut across socioeconomic class and issues of disability. You also touched on the issue of townships, which we know historically are under-policed. And I think I'm glad that came up, because that is part of the conversation here. Is there are certain groups that are more vulnerable to certain things like sexual violence. The other thing I'm quite glad that came up was the issue of culture and media and representation and the role that media plays as well. Because, of course, part of what we're discussing here is not just violence in isolation, but violence as a thing that we see and consume all the time. I think overall, quite a nuanced debate, picking out, I think, important issues that need to be touched on. And I hope in the last debate that we'll kind of see more of those small nuances that I think make, whatever solution we come up with needs to be quite complex, because the problem is complex. South Africa as a country is very complex.
All right. And do you have the verdict for us? Have you and your fellow judges tallied the scores? We'll give the judges a moment.
And this round will go to Peaceful.
All right. Thank you very much, judges. And Leader 1, Peaceful, congratulations for winning that debate. We're moving right along to our next debate, and it is our final one for the night. It is between Anissa, Leader 2, and Hosi, Leader 4. I could see Hosi kind of pacing, trying to prep himself and psych himself up for this debate. Let's see if your solutions will be the ones that will get our judges' vote this evening. Leader 2, your 30 seconds start now.
Why must we live like this? A woman is raped every 26 seconds in South Africa. I had a conversation with Cheryl Zondi, who is a rape survivor and the chairperson of the Cheryl Zondi Foundation that focuses on abuses in sacred places. It is when she told me that we need to implement harsher sentences to these perpetrators to equate to the life-changing trauma that they give to their victims, that it takes, that we need these perpetrators offshore and on an island. We need to get them out of the country and nowhere close to the victims so that they cannot victimize them further. So we need to get them away from that. And one
time is up. Thank you very much. You leaders have 60 seconds to engage.
Honorable Musadi, let's understand here. Are you saying we must bring back Robben Island?
Basically, yes. Now? Thank you very much. That is exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying let's put these people on a Robben Island that you are talking about. And once they serve their sentence, let's get them out of the country and to start a life afresh. Can I speak? Sorry. The problem I said that is because not all perpetrators go to jail. Not all of them, when they come back, they're still in the presence of their victims, and victims feel victimized. They have to live each and every day looking over their shoulder to make sure that the perpetrator is not behind them. Hence, I say they need to get out of the country once they've served their sentence to start their life afresh, just like how they have done to their victims.
Anissa, I'm trying to understand the how part. You know, you are beating around the bushes.
I'm not beating around the bush. I'm telling you, because this is a solution that hasn't been implemented. Maybe South Africa could be the first one.
How do you intend on implementing this? Implement it.
We have Robben Island. Let's use Robben Island. Okay, let's use Robben Island. Once the perpetrator has served his sentence, let's get him out of the country.
So he's no longer coming back?
He's not coming back. We don't want him.
What about those who are wrongfully accused?
That is something else. I'm talking about those who have been...
Thank you very much. Anissa, you have 30 seconds to close your argument.
How many more Cheryl Zondis do we have to re-traumatize? How many more Kinsani Masekos do we have to bury because of rape culture on campuses? I reaffirm my stance, ladies and gentlemen, together with, of course, proactive steps like creating apps and creating panic buttons on campuses, martial arts, your circles, your safe spaces. To the victim, you're not, to the survivor, you're not a victim for sharing your story, but you are a survivor. To the perpetrator, it could have been your daughter.
Thank you very much. The tables are turned. Hosi, your 30 seconds starts now.
South Africa, let's answer the question. How? It's time to reflect, refuel, and refocus. Attention has been given to victims. I say let's change. Let's give attention to perpetrators. Let's understand their psychological background. Why? What does it take for a 24-year-old guy to rape a baby? What went through his mind? How was I able to actually picture a baby and make her someone I can sleep with? Let's picture this. What does it take for a normal person to rape a green? It's not normal. Let's understand this. Address it as such. One thing, guys, a no is a no.
Time is up. Thank you very much. You leaders can engage.
Hosi, I completely disagree with your approach because what you are saying is we now have to babysit these rapists and leave the victims out of this. You cannot tell me that...
If you call babysitting understanding,
no,
that's your problem.
No, it's not understanding. I understand that we have to have a certain element of incorporating back into the community, but that should not be the focal point, Hosi. That is
Anissa,
not how you create a no-rape
before
society.
you deal with the issue,
Hosi,
understand why it started.
Why it started? Okay.
You cannot fix something
Hosi,
you don't know why it started.
Okay, let me tell you something.
While
you're busy investigating why it started, 1 in 3 women are getting raped out there. You tell me how that is so... You tell me how
South Africa.
No, Hosi, what happens to the current crimes? What happens to it?
So you don't believe that you can change and actually achieve this? It doesn't happen overnight.
It happens interchangeably. If you told me that from the beginning, I wouldn't be arguing with you. But your problem is... No, I don't know it because it's your argument. You are supposed to tell me about it.
We are restoring the trust in people again.
But we can't do that if we only focus on the perpetrators. Hosi,
Anissa, but we are not giving attention to them. We don't know why they're doing it.
We have
Let's
victims.
understand.
Why are we wasting money? Do you understand how much
we have the law, we have these facilities that actually psychologically analyze them.
Time is up. Thank you very much. Leader 4, you have the remaining 30 seconds to close your argument, please.
At this point of how, I say, let's create an earring that it features a panic button that will actually call or send an SMS to your current emergency contact. The contacts will come with a location. By so doing, people, if a woman is wearing an earring, she's easily able to access this without anyone noticing. So if you are in fear, press the button. We're going to come. We as the men who are there, we're going to come and protect you from that man who is actually naming bad us, not in my name. So if you call me to assist, I'll come.
Thank you very much, leaders. Geez, it is indeed a serious issue and not meaning to laugh, but I think it's just the style of engagement. You know, Hosi is very robust, and I hope the judges will give us... or both our contestants constructive feedback while I give them a moment. Sia, I'll come to you.
Yes.
You saw that final debate. A number of solutions coming out from that. Your thoughts and the verdict, please.
Thank you very much. We've had some very interesting solutions. And what I liked, what stood out for me most is that we, because of time, I would have loved to hear how Hosi plans about educating the psychology of men. Because what he said was that for a very long time we've been focusing on the victim. And personally, that's what I also advocate for, because now we are becoming proactive rather than being reactive to these cases. So when you deal with the psychology of the perpetrator, it's important before these things actually happen. But to come to the verdict, we have decided that Anissa wins this one.
All right, thank you very much. And congratulations to you, Anissa, for winning that debate. Viewers at home, please continue to send us your comments by visiting our Facebook page, One Day Leader SA, to share your comments on the topic. Also, take a look at our Twitter page at One Day Leader and our Instagram page, One Day Leader, and hashtag One Day Leader 7. After the break, we find out how our studio audience voted. But please be reminded that the audience can only vote for the leader that won a debate. So only 1 of 3 leaders that won their respective debates. Now, in Bugeli, unethuba lokuvota. Voting closes on Monday afternoon at 12 midday. So vote by SMS saying the word leader and your favorite leader's number to our SMS line, which is 32792 at a cost of R1.50. Welcome back to One Day Leader. We're about to hear what the judges have to say about their overall impressions of our leaders' contributions this evening. They'll comment on their debates and how they think our leaders have tackled this issue. We'll start with our guest judge, Sia. Your overall impressions of our leaders' contributions tonight.
Yes, thank you very much once more. I was very impressed, and I picked up a few a few solutions that I can maybe propose to the team that even ourselves we can try to implement. However, I've got a series of questions like the one I would have loved to pose to Anissa as to if we were to say that we're implementing the deporting of perpetrators, I would ask her how confident is she in our justice system to say that. In fact, that would be the same question I would pose to the notion of execution when you are found guilty, to say, are we confident enough in our justice system at this point in time to say that our convictions are accurate, that we can execute people or even send them to Robben Island for that matter. But generally, I was impressed, and I'm glad. I would have loved even as well for Peaceful to, to elaborate more on the disability access to information. I think it's one part of the society or the part of the discourse that we normally tend to overlook, which is very important that we get into. But generally, yes, all the contestants did very well for me. I've learned something new from each one of them.
All right, thank you very much, Sia. And before I let you go, I will give Anissa an opportunity. Maybe she could elaborate on what she meant by sending perpetrators of rape off to a Robben Island, for instance.
Okay, so basically we're not 100% guaranteed because I feel like we do have flaws in the justice system. But I think these are the people who are already imprisoned that we take over to that side. So during the period of them serving their sentence, I think that's where we get to seek clarity as to whether or not they did it. But these are the convicted people of which I said to Robben Island. Hence, I didn't mention things like incarceration because in Robben Island, it would be same as them being in prison, just that now they're away from the victims.
All right, thanks, Anissa. Let me quickly come to you, Peaceful, very briefly, if you've got any contributions towards what Sia wanted you to elaborate on.
All right, Sia, thank you. What I'm talking about is not Vision 2030, it's Vision 20 now. If you are a lawyer today, you don't need to dismiss a case of a person with disability simply because you know you're going to lose in court. So what I'm saying is things which we can implement. If you have to now set a budget in the next financial year end to employ people with disabilities, we can achieve that with our current South African budget.
All right, thank you very much. Well, before the break, our studio audience had an opportunity to vote for their favorite, and I do have the results with me. Who is the audience favorite leader for tonight? Congratulations, Leader 5, Busisiwe. Audience Thanks to our audience and, of course, judges for their adjudication. Let's now have a look at the episode and overall scoreboard.
Leading the pack in this episode is Anissa with 4 points. Peaceful and Hosi are trailing behind with 1 point each.
Mbugel Nala Pekaunga Koshoguti will be showing your voting results at the top of next week's episode. Voting closes on Monday at 12 midday. A big thank you to our candidates, our judges, our studio audience, and to you at home for joining us on this episode. Next week, we'll be tackling yet another thought-provoking topic. Before I go, I leave you with these words from Lakshmi Puri, who says, gender equality is everyone's business. And she's from the Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women at the United Nations. From myself, and the rest of the One Day Leader team, it's good night.